They're putting plenty of emphasis, and we can talk, and I do want to touch on this next subject, but this filing an original application for some disability compensation, they're putting lots of emphasis that we want every veteran, every military member that's separating, or a veteran that hasn't filed before, to go online and do it electronically. Yes. File your claim electronically, and everything will be good. Well, if you can't operate a simple system, I mentioned the travel beneficiary allowance, the little kiosk that also didn't work. Do you know what it does? All it does is you punch in the information. It's not exactly quick either. And you have to verify yourself, and then you put your appointment time down and yada, yada. You know what it does? It generates a paper copy of that over to the travel office that they have to process anyway.
It's just one step that does not need to be there. They need better processes, is what I'm hearing. Definitely.
Yep. Well, you may as well go over and fill out the actual paper form, because you're doing the same thing. It's just there's a kiosk out there that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But
well, how can our listeners get in contact with accredited representatives to file claims with the VA?
Well, that's important. If we can talk about that for a second, let me just share that if somebody was on active duty and they discharged under honorable conditions, okay, so they've got their DD-214, and something happened to them while they were in service. Maybe they had a knee surgery. Maybe they broke a bone. Now, we know that bones heal. However, there's always going to be X-ray evidence of that bone. Let's call it a leg bone. You broke your femur. Pretty bad break, and, it does heal, and maybe you're just fine. When you get out of the service, or maybe 5, 10, 20 years later, I've worked claims for veterans that have been out for 4 decades and had success because, it's all based on this simple legal process, and it's a 3-pronged approach to filing a claim for disability compensation, which, by the way, is tax-free. The entire program is essentially an implied workers' comp agreement. If you were working for GE and you got hurt on the job, you're going to get workers' comp. Well, when you're in the military, you're a GI. You're government issue. I mean, you are on the clock 24/7, 365 for the duration of your contract. When you separate, if something happened to you while you were on active duty, and it wasn't because of willful misconduct, like riding a motorcycle without a helmet and you got a brain injury, okay, that's going to obviously, you broke the rules. You're supposed to wear helmets, okay? So something, or I always give this example. If you were at your house painting the eaves or something on a ladder, and you fell and broke your leg, so long as you weren't drunk while you were up there trying to paint the house, the line of duty determination is going to be made that, this is an accident that happened through no fault of his own or her own, and everything's going to be fine as far as future filing a claim for disability compensation, which, again, is tax-free. It's for the rest of your life. It's basically to compensate you for something that happened while you were in service that's going to be bothering you the rest of your life. So those 3 things that happened in service, it's still bothering you today, and there's a logical connection or nexus between the 2. You're eligible to apply for VA disability compensation. How do you do that? Like you just mentioned, Cheri, you want to seek an accredited representative. That's somebody that stays up to speed on all the changes in the VA regulations and rules and laws that come down on a regular basis, even so much so that a form could change its number or shape. And if you file the old form, they may accept it, but they're going to automatically put it, and this is what's happened within the last 8 years. Okay, both Shinseki's administration and the VA did this, and now obviously Bob McDonnell has continued this. They've changed the rules. Even though the manual that tells the VA how to process claims hasn't changed, they've changed the rules. So they're not really following their own rules and laws. If the form number changes, they may accept it. They're going to put it on a different pile. And the people that send in the proper, up-to-date form, because maybe they saw an accredited representative and he or she knew of the change, they're going to go to the front of the line. So it's vital that you seek out an accredited rep. How do you do that? If you're here in Florida, it's easy. You check out your County Veteran Service Office, CVSO, County Veteran Service Office. These people are going to be regularly trained and updated on changes that are very important and can make a big difference in how quickly and how thoroughly your claim gets adjudicated through the VA. You can go to a post, American Legion or VFW post, and God bless them. The service officers within the post, I know they have a heart to serve or they wouldn't be doing it, but they're not at the level of experience and knowledge and up-to-date information that a fully accredited rep is going to have. So I encourage everybody, don't file online, ever, and seek out a legitimate accredited representative.
And that's going to, you said, County Veterans Service Office?
Correct. There's, 67 counties in this state?
Okay.
Have I got that right? 66 or 67? And each of them has a CVSO, a County Veterans Service Office, and they're there just to help you with your issues before the VA. And you don't have to be a veteran. You could be a claimant you could be a widow that lost your husband, and if it was related to service, there's going to be eligibility for benefits there. Okay, so it's real important, and it's easy. Just Google it. Google your County Veterans Service Office, and you'll find out a name and contact number, and then you can go from there.
Yeah, I know. Just in speaking for myself, you file the wrong form, like you say, they'll take it, but you'll never hear back from them, and you're going 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. What's going on? Well, you filed the wrong form. We have it here, but you can't tell me that, and you just get this look coming back at you.
Mm-hmm. And they
go ahead.
Stumble over themselves sometimes too.
Mm-hmm.
One hand doesn't know what the other's doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I'm hearing is the importance of education, and as you and Kim know, we're all about education when it comes to business. And you and your team are all about the education for our veterans, so that they do not have to sit there and wait to be seen, but to help them understand exactly what you just shared. And you do this. We were talking earlier about how you spread the message, and I know you have a radio show, and that's been going on for a number of years. So just want to share a little bit about how our listeners can hear where you are and hear more, because I know you talk a lot about the VA benefits.
We do. American Warrior Radio is our weekly AM radio outreach to basically anybody that's interested in military or veterans issues. Glenn happens to be a retired supervisor of the Brevard County Veterans Service Office, so he knows of what he speaks. Mm-hmm. And, of course, my experience when I got out of the service, I went back to school and I became a legal advocate for veterans and eventually retired from the Board of Veterans Appeals up in Washington, D.C., having represented veterans against the VA. And so we've got a wealth of experience between us. American Warrior Radio has incredible guests. We've got good interviews. We bring regular segments. We have we mentioned this and we need to talk about that, the PR&R, Project Recuperation Reintegration Retreats for Returning Combat Vets. Well, our lead mental health facilitator, Dr. Scott Fairchild, he himself retired Army, runs Baytree Behavioral Health here in Suntree, has a regular segment called of course, it would escape me right now.
Of course.
Heal the Warrior, Heal the Country.
Oh, wow.
That's the name of it. Heal the Warrior, Heal the Country. Yeah,
that's
and
powerful.
It's all about how we can deliver useful information and even coping methods and tools to help our audience. If they're not themselves a vet or an active duty member, they may know somebody that is, and they can share the information, much like what you do with Social Radio.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a question along these lines. Are there any veteran seminars or presentations about how to spread the word about what we're talking about here? I know you do it on your AVET radio show.
Have you thought about maybe doing it here?
Is there any other activity besides going to the county? I mean, does anybody put on regular or semi-regular informational talks?
It's such an underserved population. That's why the popularity of American Warrior Radio has grown to the degree it has, because of the thousands of terrestrial radio stations in this country. I've identified 6 that have any regular veterans program.
Oh, gosh.
That's how underserved it is. So anything and everything we can do through yours and others to help get the word out that there is help out there. And, you mentioned, Cheri, earlier that we answer calls all day, all night, emails, the Facebook messages and all that jazz. Probably, an hour and a half before we went on the air, I got a call from a gal whose son-in-law was a Vietnam vet and having issues, serious issues, and her daughter-in-law, or her daughter, I'm sorry, was having great difficulty dealing with the issues out of state, actually up in Massachusetts. There is a way to deliver help to somebody that's in crisis, particularly if they're a vet, but even an active duty member, even a family member of one of those. And it's the VA National Crisis Hotline. And if everybody out there in social media land can write this number down, if not for yourself, it's a very effective way to help somebody that's dealing with some sort of a crisis. It's real easy. It's 800-273-8255, and you press 1. 800-273-8255, press 1, and by doing so, you're going to be speaking either to a veteran or somebody closely associated with veterans or knowledgeable on what some of our situations and circumstances are. AVET Project has seen this program work. It's not always perfect, and nothing is, right? But we've seen it work, and I was on the phone with this woman and was able to give her that information. Hopefully I'll hear something back about the success of it, but she really needed a wellness check, and that's what the system's designed to do. If they have to Baker Act a vet because he or she's got a gun to their mouth, they'll do it. Saw it. Happened up here in Jacksonville. It was, can you believe this year is almost over? It was about 6 months ago, and we had to intervene. We actually coached somebody to intervene, and then we heard back that things had worked out and the vet had been saved. He was a naval reservist, and they got to his house, and law enforcement. And so it does work.
And that has to really make you feel something special in your heart when you know that you had helped and served to save a life.
Yeah, and anybody can do it. You talk about tools and ways to get the word out. Just by sharing that phone number, we may impact one person. And if we do, phenomenal. Had we not mentioned it, we knew we wouldn't affect anybody, right?
Correct. That's the VA National Crisis Hotline at 800-273-8255. Press 1. I will be posting that up on our Social Radio Show Facebook page as well, with a few other things that you've mentioned today. And I'd love to talk more with the amount of experts that you and Glenn are sharing on the American Warrior Radio Show. I can see you guys putting on an actual veterans seminar here in our community to help spread the word. I could see that. I'm visualizing that here for the near future. I think that would really be a great program to, again, another outreach and bring in people from, Orlando, a lot of different areas, because I can see that there's such a need for this education.
Right, and I have, on a personal level, schooled, I think we're at about a count of 5 different attorneys here locally on the Space Coast that are diving into the arena of helping vets with their initial claims and even appeals. And one thing, let me stress, if a listener out there goes to get some representation from a CVSO, as we mentioned, or any accredited representative, that representative is forbidden by law to charge a fee for your initial application. If you are refused, if you are denied a claim and it is on appeal, then an attorney or even a claims agent can, having gone through the regional office of the VA where they come up with a fee agreement, then they can charge a fee. But any representation prior to an appeal must be done without cost to the claimant. And that's important. So if anybody asks for money up front to file an initial claim or a DIC, a widower pension, whatever it might be, dependents indemnity compensation. If somebody dies in the service or of a service-connected disability, the surviving spouse is eligible for compensation. That's a DIC. If anybody asks for money for an initial claim or application, they're breaking the law, so just walk away. But if we've trained up several attorneys, we've worked on judges' claims themselves, it's a matter of slowly but surely getting the word out through the Florida Bar Association. I've spoken at a couple of their military law symposiums. We've done, well, we're supposed to be doing our third, but we've